Hey there, welcome back. This is Mrs. M again, and today we are going to talk about the final sentence in your introductory paragraph, the thesis statement. So we're going to talk about how to construct the thesis, which is basically making your argument for your story or your essay or whatever piece you may be writing in the future. So let's get right into that. So, what is the point of a thesis statement? And you can see I drew a little cartoon over there. Yes, I drew it, and I know that my drawing skills are amazing. Thank you very much. So you see first, it's what I think thesis writing is like, and it's a knight fighting the thesis dragon, and it seems very scary, but a thesis statement is not scary at all, especially if you've done brainstorming, which you already have in the workshop. So what thesis writing is really like, giving a carrot to a bunny. It's super easy. It's not a big deal, I promise. Okay, so your thesis statement is pretty much the most important part of your entire writing piece. So you have your hook and you have your bridge, and now you are ready to build the most important sentence that's going to be in your whole story. It's the sentence where you make your big argument if you're writing something that's true or nonfiction. And it's the place where you give your reader the lesson or the theme or the moral of the story if you're writing a fiction story. Because there needs to be a reason for why you're writing whatever you're writing. And the thesis is where you share that reason. And it lets your reader know what your big idea is. And it also helps you as you're writing the rest of your story so that you can stay focused, so that you know if you're writing something whether or not it fits with your thesis statement. And if it doesn't, you don't need to put it in. So what is a thesis statement? A thesis statement is an opinion or an argument, and this is if you're writing in nonfiction. So it would be your opinion or your reason, and it's not a fact, but we'll get into that in a second. So a thesis statement is your opinion or your argument for whatever you're writing about. Now, if you're writing a story, which many of you are working on a story for this workshop, so in this case, your thesis statement would be the moral of the story or the theme. So if the thing that you're writing about, for example, if you picked the topic seeing into the future, then your theme would be what you think about seeing in the future, whether it would be really awesome or whether maybe you wouldn't want to see into the future. That would be your thesis statement, what your theme is or the moral of the story. A thesis statement is also the whole purpose for writing your story. Why are you writing this in the first place? And that's what your thesis is. So now a thesis is not an announcement. The worst thing in the world you can do when you are writing something is to start by saying, I am going to write about blah, blah, blah. That is boring. It doesn't give the reader any actual information. It's certainly not exciting like your hook sentences that you wrote on the first day. So a thesis is definitely not an announcement. Don't ever do that. Okay, it is also not a fact that cannot be argued. So a thesis would never be, the sky is blue, because we know that. You can't argue that. That's not an opinion. That's not an argument. So it needs to be a fact, or it needs to not, be a fact that cannot be argued. So you could say, fitting with these topics that we picked the other day, you could say that seeing into the future would be really scary because nobody knows what's happened before. That is something that can be argued because maybe somebody else would say, no, I really do want to see into the future because I think it would be awesome to see what nobody's ever seen before. So those would be a thesis statement. They have to be something that somebody could disagree with. And a thesis is also not a question. Now, your hook can be a question, but your thesis statement is not. You need to have your opinion, have your argument, have your story, theme, or moral, and you're not going to change it, so it's not a question. It is your opinion, and that is a thesis statement. Now, how do you write a thesis statement? So there's a couple of steps. First, you go back to the bridge sentence that you wrote, and those 3 main points or story events that you already picked and are going to put into your writing piece. Then, After you look at those three things and see what they have in common, you're going to decide what your overall argument, if it's nonfiction, or moral of the story is, if it's fiction. And I have a worksheet that you can use to help you do this. So you basically take those 3 points from your bridge sentence, you see what they all have in common, get your opinion about them. That is the thesis, and then you need to give a reason why that is your thesis statement. So start by writing 3 reasons, and then you can use any 1 or 2 or 3 of those to add into your thesis statement to really show that you know what you're talking about. It is best if those reasons can be from your personal experience. So if you are writing about your favorite food and you say that the best food in the world is pizza, no matter what, then you'd have reasons about why you think pizza is the best. And it would be your personal experience with pizza. Pizza is the best because my mom makes the best homemade pizza sauce that you've ever tasted. That would be a personal reason why your thesis argument is that pizza is the best food ever, for example. And I'll show you that in a second. And then you're going to use those pieces of information and your thesis statement will come right together. Just like giving a rabbit a carrot, it's super easy. Okay, so here's my example. So yesterday when you watched the video with Mr. M, he helped you write a hook and a bridge for the seeing into the future topic. So he started with the hook that said, if you had a chance to see what you would look like in the future, would you take it? And then the bridge is, if I could see into the future for 5 minutes, I would see what cars will look like in 10 years, what I look like in 40 years, and what food looks like in 100 years. So if I took that information from my bridge, those 3 things that I want to see, my overall theme of my story would be that it would be pretty cool to see into the future, and I would think it was awesome. And then I need to have a reason for that. Obviously, in this case, I can't use the personal experiences because, believe it or not, I've never been able to see into the future. But I can use my imagination and come up with a story theme to give a reason for why I think that that is something that is cool. So my thesis could be, being able to see into the future would be really amazing because I would be able to see things that no one has ever seen before. So there is my introductory paragraph. It's done. 3 sentences, a hook, a bridge, pull that all together and write a thesis statement, and you're done. How easy was that? All right, so you're going to do this on your own with the worksheet that you have, but there's one more thing I want to tell you before you go. You've made it the whole way through this mini workshop with Mr. M and I. Congratulations. You now, when you're done with your thesis, have an amazing introductory paragraph. And now I have something that's really fun. One last thing. I'm going to do a contest. All right, so after you finish with today's work, you'll have a great introductory paragraph. You'll have your hook, you'll have your bridge, you're going to have your thesis, you're ready to write. So now, finish the story. Finish writing your story and have your parent email it to me by this coming Monday, the 13th, by midnight on the Pacific Coast, because that's where I live. All of the entries that are in by then, Mr. M and Mrs. M will read them. We're going to pick our favorite, so we'll have to vote, of course. And then we're going to pick one winner from the people that send us their stories. And that one winner will get their story featured on our website. We're going to send you a special awesome writer's package in the mail, and you're going to get a free spot in the 10-week writing program that we're going to have coming out really soon. So it's going to be 10 weeks of writing some really awesome stories and writing pieces and learning so much more, just like you did the last 3 days. So really cool, really fun writing contest. I can't wait to read your stories. Some of you already sent in your hooks and your bridges that you've done, and I'm loving what I'm seeing. So I can't wait to see all of your stories.